In today's Insight, we take a look at a problem that affects close to 800 million people around the world: access to safe, clean drinking water. Here are some of the figures. More than 3.4 million people die each year from water-related diseases. That's roughly the population of the city of Los Angeles here in the United States. The World Health Organization estimates that women spend a total of 200 million hours each day collecting water. The WHO also reports that more people in the world have a mobile phone than a toilet. So what is being done to help battle water scarcity? Earlier, I spoke to John Oldfield, the CEO of WASH Advocates, a non-profit dedicated to bringing clean water to people around the world. I asked him how serious the problem is.
This is a serious problem. It's 2013, and we have 800 million people on the planet who don't have access to safe drinking water for their daily needs. That's 20 liters of safe, affordable, and sustainable safe drinking water per day per person. Also in 2013, we have 2.5 billion people who don't have a place to go to the bathroom. They don't have adequate sanitation facilities. And if you combine these two, a lack of water and a lack of sanitation, whereby human waste contaminates existing water supplies, that leads to the preventable deaths of over 2 million children under 5 years of age each year from preventable waterborne diarrheal disease. We also have hundreds of millions of women across Africa, Asia, and Latin America who are essentially being used in 2013 as pipes. These women are being used as water infrastructure, hauling dirty water around on their heads for 4 to 6 hours a day in many cases, rather than being economically productive members of society. And it's also an education challenge. We have hundreds of millions of school children, girls in particular, who spend their childhoods hauling water instead of school books. So we have a water challenge here, but we also have a healthcare challenge, we have an education challenge, we have a gender empowerment challenge, and we have a poverty alleviation challenge. And water, safe drinking water, is a means to many of those ends.
Right, we know that the world population is growing very fast. Is the problem getting worse? There was a conference in Bonn in Germany several months ago in which the experts meeting there warned that this problem could get very serious within 2 generations. So it seems to have concertinaed now to a point where it's going to become a very serious problem.
Well, the only argument I would have with that is that it is a serious problem now for all of the reasons that we've been discussing. But you combine that population growth with the current numbers out there for water availability, both quantity and quality, increased standards of living, people eating more meat, people moving into urban environments from rural communities. The problem will become more serious, particularly in the developing countries, and particularly the semi-arid countries within Africa, Asia, and Latin America. But the problem is serious now in 2013. And the one message that I'd like to leave with you is that it is solvable. We know how to solve these challenges. The question is, what can we do to expedite that process?
I want to get to the solution in a moment, but you mentioned the developing world. The conventional view is that this problem is something that's confined to the developing world. Is that the case?
Well, it's not the case. I mean, we face challenges related to water quantity and water quality in Europe, in North America, in developed parts of the world, as well as in Africa, the developing parts of Asia and Latin America. But if each human life is equal, then the problem is clearly more severe in Africa, many parts of Asia, and many parts of Latin America. Now, there are water-poor countries, many of which are in Africa, and on a proportional basis, the need is probably greatest for safe drinking water and sanitation in Africa. However, there are hundreds of millions of people throughout Asia and tens of millions of people throughout Latin America who continue to suffer from a lack of water and sanitation.
Okay, you mentioned solutions. What can be done to alleviate this?
Well, there's a lot being done to alleviate this. At the end of the day, it's the responsibility of governments in developing countries to solve their own challenges related to water and sanitation. But the international donor community is doing a great deal as well to support these solutions. A couple of examples. Technically speaking, the solutions can be quite simple. Wells, rainwater harvesting systems in schools or HIV clinics, ventilated improved pit latrines, hand washing stations with clean, safe water, and a bar of soap. This is what reduces mortality rates and what reduces morbidity rates. Now, the developing country governments are increasingly taking responsibility. This is social contract 101. They are taking responsibility for the water, sanitation, health, education needs of their citizens, but the international donor community has a huge role to play here as well.
Okay, sir, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.